We play and call it work.
Hey there guys, Quirk here from MiniWarGaming.com to give you another episode of The Breakdown. Yeah, that's right, we figured out a title for it. We finally figured one out. Wasn't sure if it was going to be cute for Battle of the Breakdown, but I'm saying it right now, we're settling on The Breakdown. I'm here today with Luke.
Hey guys.
He's from...
So I'm from England, Yorkshire side, in a city called Hull.
I didn't understand a word he just said. This is going to be fantastic. So if you guys have never seen a breakdown episode before, what we do in this video is we take a look at our armies in excruciating detail. We go ahead and pick it apart unit by unit, explaining how they all work together and how we're going to use them for the mission that we're going to be playing. Also with that, we do play ITC style missions as well as missions that are usually played in larger tournaments. For this episode, we're going to be doing mission number 2 out of the 2017 Nova Open Premier Package. So that is... the Scouring, yeah, I have it right here, just so I can keep track of it. Makes life a little bit easier. Quick overview on how that works. A perfect game is scored out of from 0 to 19. A perfect score would be 19. And the way it works is you can score, I believe it is 9 points for your primary missions, which you have 2 options to choose from. You can either do an end game where you score your points at the end, or progressive where you score your points at the end of your turns between turns 2 and 6. Then we've also got a list of 12 secondaries that we pick 3 of, and each one of those we score is worth 2 points. And then between turn 2 and 5, we have our tertiaries where we just have to kill a unit, and every time we kill a unit, we score a point, up to a maximum of 1 per turn. So adding all those up together, you do manage to get a perfect score of 19. That in mind, we do have to keep that when we're taking a look at our list and explaining how everything's going to be working, because obviously we don't want to try and table our opponent, because we would lose out on points. So with that, and I didn't mention this to you beforehand, we are going to be playing 4 points, so the idea is even if we have the opportunity to table somebody, we have to try and play as if we are playing in a tournament and trying to get those maximum points available. So tabling will end the game immediately, and that's the points that you're kind of stuck with. So
Can work with that.
Keep that in mind. I'm going to be playing some Necrons. Now, I'm not bringing my usual Necron list. I'm trying a little bit more of a traditional one. I don't have my Tesseract Vaults. It hurts me. It physically hurts me to not bring one of those, or 2 of them, or 4 of them. It just hurts my soul.
I feel a lot better myself, but...
Fair enough. And you're going to be playing your Blood Angels?
Yep.
All right.
It's not going to be the usual tournament list, but I'm sure the internet will tell me otherwise, but yeah.
All right. And he does have some really cool toys in that list. So we're going to go right onto it now and start this breakdown with the Necrons. Starting off, we've got the Necron list. Now, a couple of rules to keep in mind when you're taking a look at Necrons. If at any point in time they have the keyword reanimation protocol, they actually have access to an ability that when, at the start of my turn, if there's a unit that's lost models, I get to roll a die, and on a 5+, I'm able to bring those models back. This is going to apply to the units of Warriors, the Immortals, the Tomb Blades, the Destroyers, pretty much everything except for the named characters and the vehicles, which is actually really, really cool right there. And then on top of that, my vehicles have an ability called Living Metal, where at the beginning of each of my turns, they regain 1 of their lost wounds. So this list is very... it has a lot of staying power, if you think about it. If at any point in time Luke does not wipe out any of the units, there's a chance that I could get a third of them back, and if I roll really hot, I could get more than that. Or I could roll like I normally roll and not get any of them back. It's just kind of all over the place there. I also have the keyword Dynasty, and that means I have to pick one of the dynasties available through the dynastic code. And the one I'm going to be taking is Mefist Solar Fury, where each time a model with this code shoots an enemy unit that's within half the range of the weapon's maximum range, the AP characteristic of that weapon's attack is improved by 1. So if they're AP nothing, they become AP -1, AP 2 becomes AP -3, and so on and so forth. So it gives me a little bit of a better chance of cutting through your armor. This army does have a lot of mobility, especially when you take into account the Ghost Arcs being able to fly around. They aren't treated as open tops, so I'll be covering that when I talk about them. But I do have a few little tricks to kind of get around that so that I'm able to still get where I need to go with those transports, have everybody jump out, and shoot you the way I'm hoping they will. But this is all 1 detachment. It's going to be a regular battalion, giving me the extra 5 command points for a total of 8. Not spending any at the beginning. I might spend some during deployment, but I am going to be taking 1 relic, which doesn't cost me anything. And when we get into that, which is going on the Cryptex, who I think I'll talk about first, I'll get into which relic he'll be taking there. So now that we know the army as a whole, let's go ahead and talk about some of these individual models, starting off with the 2 HQs that I've brought, the Cryptex. The HQs that I brought 2 of them. They're going to be Cryptex. Now, Cryptex has a movement value of 5 inches, weapon skill, blitz skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, 4 wounds, 1 attack, leadership 10, and a save of 4+, which is kind of cool. The weapon that both of them are going to be carrying is the Staff of Light. It has a shooting profile and a close combat profile. Shooting profile is a 12-inch range, assault 3, strength 5, -2, 1 damage. Thanks to the dynasty that I've taken, if I happen to get within 6 inches, it's going to be -3. Ooh, that's going to cut through some armor.
Yeah.
Haha. As for the melee profile, it is strength user, so we're looking at strength 4, AP -2, and 1 damage with the 1 attack. So I got 1 chance to kind of do a damage to you with that. Gotta say it right now, if you get into close combat with a Cryptex, he's dead. I accept that, he's dead. The options that he has, first off, he has living metal, obviously not being able to reanimate protocol himself because he's a single man unit that if he dies, he's kind of SOL, means that at the beginning of every turn, he's going to regain 1 of his lost wounds, which is quite nice right there. The war gear options, I'm either able to take a Chromatron or a Canoptic Cloak. I'm going to be taking the Chromatron for this, where it allows all of my Dynasty infantry, so all the Mefist infantry, within 3 inches of him, they get a 5-up invulnerable save against ranged weapons. Now, I don't know what you have for ranged. You are playing Blood Angels, I'm assuming you're really fast, probably have some Plasma, so it might help out that I have that 5-up invul against some of the crazy APs you're going to be throwing my way.
You might be surprised, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping I am. Also for that, he is a Techromancer, so I get to add 1 to all reanimation protocol rolls for friendly dynasty units within 3 inches of the Cryptex, which is quite nice right there. So, what that means is whenever I roll for the reanimation protocol, instead of getting a third of them back, I'm going to be getting half of them back because it's on a 4+, which is super awesome right there.
Gross.
The one we're looking at right now is going to be my Warlord. He's going to be taking the Warlord trait that extends the range of all of his abilities by, I believe it's 6 inches. So he's going to have a 9, it's either 3 inches or 6 inches, but either way, it's going to have a further bubble of reanimation protocol, which is quite nice right there. And also, I'm going to be giving him the relic, the Veil of Darkness. So the Veil of Darkness, it is at the end of the movement phase, I pick a unit within a certain range, I believe it's 3 inches. And they immediately get removed from the board and placed anywhere on the battlefield, 9 inches away from enemy models, and the unit has to be wholly within 6 inches of the of the Cryptex. Might be difficult if I try and do it with some of the 10-man infantry squads, but if I do it with the Tomb Blades or the Destroyers, it's going to be very simple to do that, and it gives me a lot more mobility in that sense. It's a once per game ability, and it does still follow the rules where on the first turn I can't arrive from reserves anywhere outside of my deployment zone, so I probably won't be doing that turn 1. But turn 2 or so on, I most likely will be. My mistake, actually, on something regarding the Veil of Darkness, and Luke just mentioned this to me, because the FAQ rule says that it's only for things that are put in reserve during the deployment phase, it's not something that's already starting on the board, which this model will technically be on the board turn 1. I can actually go outside of my deployment zone turn 1 thanks to the Veil of Darkness, which is actually quite nice. I probably won't, but it's still nice to know that I'm able to do that, and it gives me a little bit more flexibility with this army. So, super awesome right there. Thank you for pointing that out. That was a mistake on my part, and this is why we have other people in the room when I'm going through and doing this, because then they can wave at me off camera and be like, that's wrong! So, but that's pretty much it for the Cryptex. The whole idea is that it is a support unit. It's going to be walking around with more than likely my Immortals, just to try and keep them alive. I do have 2 of them. They both are equipped the exact same. The only thing that's different is that one of them is going to have the Warlord trait, giving them the buffed aura range, as well as the Veil of Darkness. Whereas the other one's just going to be walking around being like, no, let's give you protection from shooting and make you better at coming back to life. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. The HQs are very straightforward in this one. Let's go ahead and jump from my HQ choices onto the troop choices. And we're going to start off with the first one that's pretty basic, just the Warriors. Necron Warriors. They have a movement value of 5 inches, weapon skill of 3+, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 10, and a 4+ save. They have almost identical stats to the Cryptex aside from less wounds. So, anyway, let's talk about specifically why I'm bringing them. The reason I'm bringing them is because they all have access to the Gauss Flare, which is a 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1, 1 damage. If I get within 12 inches of you, it becomes rapid fire 1, so it's firing 2 shots, strength 4, -2 AP, and 1 damage. So that means a unit of 10 will be firing 20 shots, hitting on 3s, most likely wounding you on 4s, because again, I'm playing a Space Marine player, so you're going to have a general average toughness of 4. And so, just doing the math really quickly on that one, so let's see, that's going to be 12 hits, 12-ish hits, and then half of that becomes 6, which you will most likely fail 2 of them, or sorry, you'll save 2 of them because you'll have a 5-up save, I get the -2, so on average I'll be causing 4 wounds a shot with each unit of 10. That's pretty good. I can live with that. Every now and then I might spike, which is quite nice. So
Yeah, I'm not happy about that, but we'll see what happens.
So the tricky part with this is how do I get these guys within the 12-inch range? It's going to be super difficult to fly them up the board and pull that off, especially with the movement value of 5. I went ahead and brought a transport for each one of these. Now, I'm going to talk about the stats for that, but I'm going to talk about specifically why I brought it. They have the Ghost Arc, and the Ghost Arc is going to have a capacity that can hold all 10 of them. I brought 3 so that all 3 of my units of warriors can hide out in them, and the Ghost Arc can fly up the board. It's not open top though, so I can't shoot out of it, which makes life a little bit difficult for that. But don't worry, I do have a way around that, which I will get to in a second. Otherwise, for these guys, they do have the reanimation protocol, so as long as one model in that unit is still alive, at the start of my turn, I get to roll a die for each of them, and on a 5+, they come back. So a little bit annoying that way. They don't have an invulnerable save. They don't have any other tricks for the most part. They do have the Dynasty keyword, which is giving me that 12-inch range extra AP, which is quite nice. Otherwise, it's just a basic unit. It cost me, I think, 120 points for 10 of them. Not too bad. Throwing them into transport that can also fire out a ton of shots makes them quite good, and we'll just see what they do. For the most part, I think I'm going to use them to initially get really close, try and mow down a lot of your infantry, and then just stick them on an objective somewhere. Because of their resiliency and the leadership 10, it's going to be hard for them to get cut down, or on top of that, fail any battle shock tests. So, quite nice right there.
Yep.
Any comments on your part about that one?
Yeah, this is very tough. Hopefully my army can withstand it, because I've kind of gone for a bit tougher on myself, but that -2, it's not going to be pleasant.
Fair enough. They do only have the 4-up save, so it does mean any damage you do to me most likely will either, with an AP value, cut right through them, or I have to rely on a 50-50 chance of keeping them alive without the invuln. It is adjustable, and that gets a little bit annoying. So anything that has an AP value of 2 or higher pretty much guarantees you're going to cut right through my armor. The -2 means I'm relying on a 6-up, so I have a 1 in 6 chance, or a 16% chance if you do it in percentages. But I don't like to rely on that because I can't really spike 6s, especially when I have volumes of fire coming at me. But that's it for the warriors. Let's go ahead and take a look at my Immortals. We've seen the Necron warriors. Let's check out their big brothers, the Immortals. These guys also have a movement value of 5, a weapon skill skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 10, and a 3+ armor save. So it's 1 better than the warriors. That is the only stat line that's different. And I've got 2 units of 10. Now these guys are a little bit bigger, a little bit chunkier, so I can't fit them in any of my transports, so they are going to have to foot slog it across the board. What's nice about this though is that I went ahead, and normally they're equipped with Gauss Blasters, which are 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 5, -2, 1 damage. It's a bigger version of the flare, but I switched these all up for the Tesla Carbines. So these have a 24-inch range, assault 2, so I don't have to be within rapid fire range, I just have to get you within the 24 inches. And they are strength 5, AP nothing, 1 damage, but each hit roll of a 6+ causes 3 hits instead of 1. So they have those exploding hits, which is really cool. If I do happen to get you within that 12-inch range, that means it's going to be strength 5 -1 AP, and again, those 6s are going to explode and do more damage, which is quite nice right there. They also have the reanimation protocol and the Dynasty, giving them the extra -1 to the AP at half range, which is quite nice. Otherwise, I like bringing them because they're just super annoying and they can pump out quite a few shots with a Tesla. Otherwise, they're just a big target. I have a feeling Luke's going to shoot at them because they can pump out quite a few shots. He's off camera just nodding his head like, yep, they're going to die. I need to shoot them. So, not much to say about the Immortals. We've seen them before. If you're a Necron player, you're very familiar with them. If you're not a Necron player, but you've played against Necrons, you are probably very familiar with them. If you are not familiar with Necrons whatsoever, you're about to be, because I'm running 2 units of 10, and they are definitely going to be foot slogging across the board. If I follow the regular deployment rules, especially for the deployment type that we're doing, I can put them on the line, and if at any point in time Luke moves any further than his deployment zone, you will be in range. So that 24-inch range is quite nice and very handy. Plus with that 5-inch move, I can probably get to where I need to go. They are assault, so I can also advance. I'm taking the -1, so only half my shots will hit as opposed to 2/3. Still, they have the mobility right there, and I'm not too worried about it. So, but that's it for all of the troop choices that we've seen. Let's go ahead and jump over now to the elites. I believe I brought some elites. Did I bring some elites? I'm almost positive I brought some elites. I think I brought 1. A little bit deceiving though. Oh, that play on words. The Catan Shard of the Deceiver. This is pretty much the linchpin in my army that I'm going to be relying on a lot of the tricks to work with. As for the stat line for the Deceiver, he has a movement value of 8, weapon skill skill 2+, strength and toughness 7, 8 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 10, and a 4+ save. His weapon, the Star God Fists, have a strength user, so we're looking at 7, AP -4, and just a straight 3 damage. So he can punch through quite a few different things, which is super awesome. For the abilities that this guy has, he has quite a few. First off, he has the Necrodermis, which is a 4+ invulnerable save, so I don't have to worry about you altering the 4+ save that he just naturally has. He also has Dread, so you have to add one to your morale test for anybody within 12 inches of the Deceiver. I'm not probably going to be relying on that too much. You do have a fairly high leadership overall, and I'm not sure if you're running them in units of 10 or units of 5.
The min squads, so I probably wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, so I don't have to worry too much about that. The one power that is officially the linchpin in this army, the Grand Illusion. So, the way this works is that at the beginning of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, I can remove the Catan Shard and or up to D3 other friendly Necron units from the battlefield and set them up, again, more than 12 inches away from enemy models. If I do so, they can't charge in the first turn. So, how does this work? Well, I'm really hoping to get first turn. And then what I do, yeah, I can see you just like, oh, that's not going to happen.
Yep.
If I get the first turn, what I do is I go ahead and I roll for the Grand Illusion, hoping to spike the 3, but if not, that's okay. And what happens is I take all 3 of the Ghost Arcs that are currently holding 10 Immortals inside. I place them 12 inches away from you, and this is pre-deployment, or sorry, this is during deployment, so the turn hasn't started. Hang on. That's what he's correcting me on. I said 10 Immortals. 10 Warriors. Sorry, Immortals can't fit in the Ghost Arcs. 10 Warriors. The Warriors are going to be hiding out in these transports. The Grand Illusion is going to put the transports 12 inches away from you. Then my Warriors can go ahead and disembark the 3 inches, move their 5, which puts them a total of 8 inches up, which will put them essentially 4 inches away from you. I don't even need to get that close. I just need to get them outside of the vehicle, and they'll be within that rapid fire range for the Gauss Flares. Then they're going to just shoot 20 shots into whatever I need. This puts them within their half range. This puts them within their rapid fire range. This means they don't have to advance to do any neat little tricks like that, and it gives me the additional -1 to the shots that are going to be coming at you. So, hopefully, with the volume of fire coming out of that, they can actually do some damage. Plus, this also puts the Ghost Arc within the range that they can fire all of the flares on top of the Ghost Arc as well. So, it is just a ton of shots getting pumped out by the Ghost Arcs and the Warriors. As well, I have the Deceiver who's going to be moving up and able to do a couple of other tricks. First off, the Deceiver has powers of the Catan, where the Deceiver knows 2 powers of the Catan and can use one of its powers at the end of each movement phase, which is quite nice because I have 6 to choose from. But the ones I'm going to be taking are, I forget the names of them, and I will quote the names when I use them. But the one is on a 2+, it just does straight up D3 mortal wounds. That's just an auto-include one. The other one I'm going to be taking is a Pulse. Now this is a Pulse that at the end of the movement phase, every enemy unit within 9 inches on a 4+ will suffer D3 mortal wounds. And it's just Pulse, and I'm doing mortal wounds, which is really, really cool right there. So with the movement value of 8 and the fact that I'm able to deploy him 12 inches away, move his 8 inches, I can get myself in a really good position so that once the end of the movement phase starts, I Pulse, and it does just a ton of mortal wounds to everybody around, which is really, really cool right there. On top of that, the Deceiver has Reality Unravels. So when the Deceiver is reduced to 0 wounds, I roll a d6 before removing the model from the battlefield. On a 4+, he blows up, and everybody within 3 inches of him suffers D3 mortal wounds. So it's kind of a ticking time bomb, and I just want to use him to Grand Illusion, get my guys where I need them to be, get right in your face, putting a ton of shots, and then take him and just hide him as far in your line as I possibly can and wait for you to kill him. That is the goal. So it's one of those models where it's a 50-50 chance that when he dies, everything around is going to be taking D3 mortal wounds. You really need to try and stay away from him, but I think for the most part your mobility is going to prevent you from doing that because he can outrun a good chunk of your army. And that's pretty much it. The last thing he has is Enslaved Star God, which means he can never take a Warlord trait. I don't need to worry about that because he's not going to be my Warlord. I'm kind of sacrificing him, and I'm a little scared that you might take one of the secondary objectives, which is Slay the Warlord, because I have a very, very squishy Warlord out there, and that's an easy 2 points for you. So trying to prevent that from happening a little bit right there. But that's going to be the Deceiver. That's the general trick that I have right here with the Ghost Arcs, with the Warriors, with the Deceiver. Get right at the board. Hopefully it works. I am relying on a D3 roll here, and I'm hoping to at least get 2 or 3. If I get a 1, I'm definitely going to command point it, because I need at least 2 or 3 in order for this to work. One Ghost Arc going up by itself is probably not going to put enough firepower into a unit or 2 of your guys to really do that much damage. And on top of that, I am going to be going for points where I don't really want to kill your units right off. I'm kind of trying to whittle them down so that they're so little they can't really do too much damage back to me. And then that way between turns 2 and 5 I'm able to score those tertiaries. So this is my pre-planning of how I'm going to be scoring those points on you. Now, not knowing really what was in your list, I kind of built mine with that in mind. I kind of knew you were burning Blood Angels, but not specifically what was in it, so I could have been dealing with things like Aggressors, I could have been dealing with things like named characters, Dreadnoughts, who knows, but you have a lot of options available, so I did keep that in mind, but I'm really hoping that I'm able to just kind of whittle down your units and then turns 2 and 5 finish them off to score myself those points, which we will probably see in the vault video when I'm trying to play this list out. And Luke's just smiling over there like, that's not going to work. I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah, it's a nasty one. It's one you usually see with a Deceiver, and I'm going to have to plan with knowing that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I can.
Now, normally my list that I take with this is the Deceiver and then a Tesseract Vault or two, because I'm able to use the Tesseract Vaults with that as well. It physically hurts me to not bring Tesseract Vaults in this list.
I'm okay with it.
I'm glad you are. I'm in pain, man. All right, moving on from the leads, let's go ahead and check out some fast attacks here. We got the Tomb Blades. The Tomb Blades, the only fast attack choice that I have in my list. Wait, no, I lied. I keep on thinking they're heavy destroyers. They're just regular destroyers, so they are still heavy support. Or sorry, fast attacks. Tomb Blades. Enough talking and rambling. Movement 14, weapon skill, blood skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5. 2 wounds apiece with 1 attack, leadership 10, and a 4+ save. These guys are pretty cool. They are going to be my objective grabbers. If at any point in time I get late game, or if I decide to play progressive and have an opportunity to score a couple extra points, these are the guys that are going to try and do it, because with that 14-inch move, if we place the objectives, or if the mission places the objectives fairly close to one another, I'm able to actually get where I need to go with these guys, so that's fairly reliable right there. The weapons they normally come with are Gauss Blasters. Those are the Rapid Fire 1, 24-inch range, Strength 5, -2, 1 damage, but I went ahead and switched those out for the Tesla Carbines. Now these are the 24-inch range, Assault 2, Strength 5, AP nothing, 1 damage, but every 6 to hit spikes as 3 hits. So this unit of guys right here are going to be able to fire 6 shots. On average, I'm going to miss 2 of them, get 1 of the 6s, which makes up for it, so I should on average get about 6 hits. That's running stats. It's never going to happen. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to whiff with these guys pretty much every time. The abilities that they have reanimation protocols, so if one of them is still alive at the beginning of my turn, I'm able to roll, and on a 5+, they can come back. They have the evasion engrams, so your opponent must subtract 1 from the hit rolls that target this unit in the shooting phase. It helps me keep me alive a little bit better. And they do have the fly keyword, so if you ever get me engaged in combat, I'm able to kind of just jump away and still shoot at you. I'm not able to charge, but I can still jump back and shoot, which I'm totally fine with. They have shield veins. And what the shield veins do is give them a 3+ save characteristic, which is quite nice right there. Nope, sorry, I lied. That's one of the options they have. They don't have that. They also have the option of the Shadow Loom, which gives them a 5 invulnerable save. That's what I gave them. And then they also have the option of taking the Nebuloscope. There we go. I just sounded out. It's like I'm in the 3rd grade again. Models do not receive bonus to their save for being in cover with attacks made by the models with that thing. I'm not going to try and say that word again. So, these guys are going to be flying around with a 4-up armor save and a 5-up invulnerable save. Hopefully that keeps them alive, and on top of that they do have the -1 to hit thanks to the evasion engrams. Like I said before, their job is just grab objectives, and they're not going to have a whole lot of firepower. If you want them to really work, you need to bring them in big units, but a unit of 3 should be good for me to at least grab a couple objectives here and there, or at the very least be a target that Luke's going to have to deal with. Hopefully not. Hopefully he'll just let them roam. Let them be free. Let them be free, man!
Never.
One thing that does kind of suck is they don't have any melee weapons, so when they're attacking, they're only going to have 1 attack at strength 4, hitting on a 3. So, and no modifiers to your AP on that one. So, that's it for the Tomb Blades. Jumping on now to the last unit I have before we talk about the dedicated transports, the Destroyers. We have Luca's favorite model. I don't know if it actually is. I'm going to declare that right now. These are Luca's favorite model. There's a reason for that. These guys have a movement value of 10, weapon skill, blood skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 3 wounds apiece, 2 attacks, leadership 10, and a 3+ armor save. And each one of these has a Gauss cannon. These things are a little bit ridiculous. So, the Gauss cannon is a 24-inch range, heavy 3, strength 6, AP -3, D3 damage apiece weapon. Blah. If I get you within 12, that's going to make them -40 your AP, which means a lot of you guys are not going to get an armor save against it. That's quite scary right there. And if you have Primaris, that means on average with those D3 dice going through, only one of them won't kill a guy outright. So, kind of scary right there. They also have reanimation protocols, so if one of them is still alive on a 5+, I'm able to bring them back. It'd be super awesome if I got a Cryptex nearby, so that on a 4+ they can come back, because they do have the infantry keyword, so they do get to trigger that. On top of that, they have Hardwired Hatred, where they can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this unit, and they also have a repulsor platform, where they can move and fire heavy weapons without suffering the penalty to its hit rolls. I still can't advance, because advance just straight up knocks out the ability to fire, but that does mean I'm able to move 10 inches and still shoot on a 3+. What's really dirty about these guys is that they have access to a stratagem, and it's one command point, allows me to reroll all failed hits and wounds. It's really dirty. I think it's called the Extermination Protocol.
I think that sounds about right,
Yeah, it's gross. It's probably what I'm going to be saving a lot of my command points for is that protocol, because a lot of the stuff in this list is not going to really benefit from too many of my stratagems as much as that unit can. Whereas a lot of the other tricks I have are going to be relying on rerolls and, well, mostly rerolls. So, but yeah, I've talked about destroyers before. We've seen destroyers before. Everybody who's a Necron player knows what destroyers are and probably has at least 24 of them in their army. If you've played against Necrons before, you know this is the prime target. I'm almost 100% positive that Luke is going to be focusing down these guys turn 1 as much as he possibly can, because they will 100% do the damage they need to do to whatever is. Reason I brought them, because obviously there's a reason I bring them. First off, they are just a absolute killing platform. They fly around the board at 10 inches and just destroy it. They basically pick something of yours and eliminate it. The other reason I brought them is because at 3 wounds apiece and a 3-up armor save, they are going to be a bullet sponge. Luke has to get rid of them. If he doesn't, even 2 of them on their own with the Extermination Protocol are going to be able to annihilate some stuff. So they are definitely going to be targeted, which means that if they're getting shot at, that means other parts of my army are not getting shot at, and that means I'm able to get myself on objectives, get myself where I need to go, and focus more on the objectives that I need to be on in order to score myself some points. Well, you need to worry about these guys because you can't just let them free roam around the board. They're way too good at killing stuff, and they're also, with the movement value of 10, way too good at getting on objectives and being where they need to be to score me some points. So they are primero targeto numero uno.
That's a definite. I can't remember if you said it, but they have fly as well, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I can't even lock them down in combat. They just fly off and destroy whatever I tried to lock them down with. So yeah, I've seen them work before. It's not pleasant.
Now, normally you'd see a Necron player bring a unit of 2 or 3 of these guys. I'm only bringing a unit of 1 because I have other points that I would like to put elsewhere. I could bring 2 units of them. It would cost me a good chunk of the other stuff that I've brought, and I would much rather bring that this game than anything else, because you can really only use the stratagem once. We are playing match play, and they benefit from that stratagem. That's pretty much what makes them an absolute killing machine, is because it guarantees pretty much all their shots are going to hit and wound. So fairly reliable right there. And it also means that, well, you have 1 target to deal with, and I just got to make sure I put that in a very obscure space to make it difficult for you to deal with. So that is my plan. That is the destroyers. That's what their job is. Let's move on to the last thing that we have here, the Ghost Arcs. Ghost Arc! Sorry, I had to whammy bar that one because these things are sweet. So the Ghost Arc has a movement value of star. It does degrade over time because this thing is sitting at 14 wounds. So it goes from a movement value of 12 down to 8 down to 4 as it slowly degrades. Weapon skill 6+, please don't engage it. Don't engage it in combat. The Ballistic skill degrades from a 3 to a 4 to a 5. It has a strength of 6. Strength of 6, toughness of 6, has 3 attacks, then D3 attacks, then 1 attack, leadership 10, and a 4-up armor save. The abilities that this thing has, it has quite a few. First off, Living Metal. So at the start of every one of my turns, I'm going to get a wound back, which is quite nice right there. Probably one of my favorite rules coming up right now, we have Quantum Shielding. Oh, you didn't see it on camera, but Luke's just like, oh, I hate this one. So each time this model fails a saving throw, roll a d6. If the result is less than the damage inflicted by the attack, the damage is ignored. For example, if something was to do 4 damage to me and I rolled a 3 or 2 or 1, I don't suffer that 4 damage. Which means that the only way you can really guarantee to do damage to something like this is to shoot it with like a damage 1 weapon, because I can still roll. If you do 2 damage to me, I can roll a 1 and just completely cancel it out. It's so good. It doesn't work against mortal wounds though. Mortal wounds are classified as doing 1 wound at a time, even if it says 1 mortal wound, D3 mortal wounds, 3 mortal wounds, whatever. It's still treated as 1 at a time, so that's
it's
just
not damage, is it? It's
just wounds. So this model is hovering, so instead of measuring the distance from the model's base, I will be measuring from the hull. So it does have a fairly large footprint that I need to worry about. It can explode on a 6, where everything within 6 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. And then lastly, it is a repair barge. So you can make reanimation protocol rolls for any slain models from units embarked in a Ghost Arc, even though those units are not on the battlefield. Any models returned to the unit in this way are added to the numbers embarked on the Ghost Arc. If models cannot be returned because there are no room on the Ghost Arc, they are not returned this turn. In addition, at the end of your movement phase, you can make a reanimation protocol for slain models with a Dynasty Warrior units within 3 inches of any Ghost Arc. You cannot use this ability if it's been targeted by a Resurrection Orb or an Orb of Eternity this turn. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that I actually get to do 2 reanimation protocols for my warriors if they're within 3 inches of a Ghost Arc. So that's just going to be super annoying right there. Mwah! I've already kind of explained how the whole thing works with the Ghost Arcs. They're going to be transporting the warriors, they're going to be jumping across the board, they're going to be disembarking the warriors, and then they are going to be shooting. Now, the Ghost Arc weapons-wise is equipped with 2 Gauss Flare Arrays. Now, a Gauss Flare Array is a 24-inch range, rapid-fire 5. It has 2 of these. So if it gets within 12 inches, it's firing 20 shots. It's firing the exact same number of shots as a unit of 10 warriors. That's their way of kind of getting around the it's not open-topped, it just carries the weapons naturally. Also, it does have the Dynasty keyword, so if I get within 12 inches, it's going to go from a Strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage, to a Strength 4, AP -2, 1 damage. So let's do the math on how this whole Grand Illusion thing is going to work. Ghost Arc moves up, disembarks guys. It's going to put 40 shots into a unit when you combine it with the unit of 10 warriors. That's going to hurt. That's going to do quite a bit of damage. So, essentially, we're doing the math all over again to try to figure it all out. I'm going to be doing about 8 wounds. Mathematically, that should slip through a 3-up armor save on a toughness 4 model. But that is the list in its entirety. It is incredibly fast. It does a very good alpha strike. It's tricky to get alpha strikes on now, especially with the whole reserve units can't jump on the board, turn 1 type thing. This has quite a few ways around it. It's very, very cool. It's very fast. I like it. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at Luke's army and figure out what it does and how he plans to deal with my Necrons, because I don't really know what's in your army, sir. Over here we have Luke's Blood Angels. Alright, sir, what did you bring?
Okay then, so I'm sure the internet will rage at me at some points because this is not the usual tournament Blood Angel list you'll see, but it's one that I quite like and it's one that I'm hopefully will do well. It's more tough than your general list. So we'll just jump in and get on with first of all what detachments I have. Essentially what you see here is it's split down the middle. On the left hand side you've got 1 battalion and on the right you've got a second. Give me a total of 13 command points. I am going to be running through a few of those before the game starts, as I'm sure if you're a Blood Angel player you're probably going to know what it's going to be on. So as a further ado, let's jump onto the separate bits now. I'll show them one by one.
Alrighty.
So I'm sure if anybody has played, even an Imperium list nowadays, you will be familiar with the Slam Captain, Asgrinius. He's got a fair few names now, but every Imperium list that usually goes to tournament lists will have a detachment of Blood Angels purely to run this guy. What he is you have your captain, he's your standard Space Marine Captain, equipped with a Thunderhammer and Jump Pack. Seems pretty standard at that point, it seems very simple. However, it's when you start coming on to the artifacts. Now, this is also going to be my Warlord, and what the Warlord trait will be is the Artisan of War, and this essentially will make his 3 damage Thunderhammer into a 4 damage Thunderhammer. So it's very nasty, got a reaction off quite there. But the main part of this is the relic you give him. Now the relic is called the Archangel's Wing. Now, like I say, if you're familiar with it, what this does is lets you re-roll charges, it's all well and good. But the primary part is that it allows him to ignore Overwatch. So what this guy does is he runs in and he will hurt essentially or kill what he runs at. And usually it's something that will have hefty Overwatch with flamers, or maybe 40 shots of Gauss rifles.
Or possibly some destroyer shots.
That as well. It's certainly one of those things. So in terms of profile, you've got your standard captain, he hits on 2s, Web skill 2, Blitz skill 2, movement at 12 with his jump pack. Strength 4, Toughness 4, 5 wounds, attacks of 4, and leadership of 9. And you've got your captain abilities, which I shall read out to get the names right, because I always forget these myself.
Now, with the hammer that you have right there, it's going to give you strength times 2, AP -3, and just straight 3 damage.
If you use a straight 3 because of his Warlord trait, it plus his 1 to that, the Artisan of War. But the other thing that comes into this is obviously I am Blood Angels. So on the charge, or when I get charged or heroic intervene, I get +1 to wound.
Oh.
So essentially, with the majority of things, unless you're running at 9 or something, he is going to be wounding on 2s.
Very nice there. Now, does it also suffer the -1 to hit because it's a Thunderhammer?
Yes,
okay.
It still has the standard -1 to hit for Thunderhammer, so he will be hitting on 3s. However, being a captain, he has the general bubble, which is the Rites of Battle, which allows him to reroll hit rolls over 1. So expect a lot of his hits to kind of get through and do a lot of damage. Like I say, he's pretty standard. He also has his Iron Halo, which is 4% bubble save, and the jump pack assault, which he could set up 9 inches away outside of the first turn with the new rules, if that was the case.
And that bumps his movement characteristic from the 6 to a 12?
Yes.
Alright, so he's going to be flying across the board, which is quite nice right there.
Exactly.
I really hope you roll a lot of 2s to hit with him. That'd be gravy
No,
right there.
let's not do that. Now, the one thing I will mention about this guy is I have not, unfortunately, managed to find a set that will allow me to plonk a Storm Shield on him, which I'm sure the internet is probably commenting on, because, yeah, he will usually always have a Storm Shield, so he'll be running around with 3+ infant usually, which, unfortunately, I haven't got the shield for him, so he will just have his box standard 4+ Iron Halo.
Which isn't too bad. I mean, you're ignoring half the wounds. It's still, you're going to see a 3 every now and then and curse yourself, but still not too bad. But this guy is very scary, super fast, and then on top of that, with the ignoring Overwatch on charges means I don't really have much of a defense against him. My army does not want to get in close combat, so if he gets in close combat, I'm pretty much going to have to write off whatever he's engaging right there, unless I have the fly keyword, which only really applies to 5 of the units that I have. My 3 Ghost Arcs, the Tomb Blades, the Destroyers, as well as the Catan. But yeah, please charge the Catan. I think that's the one thing that can actually deal with him in close combat.
Yeah, the Infant Serum and the Catan is one of the only things that might help. Although with the 4 damage, the Quantum Shielding can be a bit of a pain as well.
Yep.
So I won't be running him out that many times soon. But yeah, he generally runs at something and deletes it and just hopes he survives the next turn, which doesn't usually happen, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Anything else with the captain, or is that pretty much it for him? He's
He is my Warlord, yes,
Okay.
for the +1 damage. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I say, I'm sure you'll have all heard of him before.
He is your heat-seeking missile of melee combat scariness.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. What's the next unit we're going to look at?
The next unit we're going to look at will be Le Martez. Okay then. So my next HQ choice, and you'll probably find out through this that it's quite HQ heavy, this list. What we have here is the named character Le Martez, the Guardian of the Lost. So what this guy essentially does is there to buff the Death Company. And what he's got as his general stats is he has a 12-inch movement because of his jump pack. He hits on 2s with his weapon skill 2+, bliss skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds of 4, attacks of 5, leadership 9 and 3+ save. He is armed with the bolt pistol, frag and crack grenades, and the Blood Crozius. Blood Crozius giving him +2 strength, -2 AP and D3 damage.
Oof.
So he's running around with strength of 6, -2 and D3 damage. And on the charge he gets +1 to wound for being a Blood Angel. So a lot of the time, again, he will be running at bog standard units and wounding on 2s.
Alrighty.
Which is always nice. Alongside that, he has the Black Rage rule. So this is a standard Blood Angel rule for the Death Company called the Black Rage. Now what this means is on the charge, or if they get charged, or if they perform a heroic intervention, they receive +1 to their wound rolls. So this essentially means a lot of the Blood Angels are very good in combat. They'll be usually wounding on 3s or 2s against most things. And even bigger things, when you're usually wounding on 5s, you're suddenly wounding on 4s. It's very nice, just with a lot of attacks hit down there. So that's the Black Rage rule. It gives you +1 on the attacks when you charge as well. And you get a 6-up, feel no pain.
Ooh. Now, is that a bubble he gives out, or is that just on him?
That is the Black Rage rule.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
So he has the Black Rage being part of the Death Company, and I'll show you the other Death Company later on, but they have the Black Rage, which gives you +1 attack on the charge, as well as a 6+ ignore wound save, which is always nice. But the reason you bring this guy is a rule called Fury Unbound. Now this lets you reroll failed charge rolls and failed hit rolls for Death Company within 6 inches of him. So my Death Company will be charging their rerolling charges and their hit rolls, which makes them very nice.
Especially when you take a look at what you've got your Death Guard equipped with, that's definitely going to help out a lot.
It really does. He also has the Guardian of the Lost ability, which means that all friendly Death Company within 6 of him can use his leadership instead of their own. This is the only squad I've got that this might apply to, but generally, if the Death Company is in front of you and they're not in combat, you're going to need to shoot them down. Yeah. He has a Jump Pack Assault, which again is the standard rule for deployment. You can deploy outside of 9 inches, obviously nowadays not within the first turn. And he has a Rosarius, which is a 4+ invulnerable save, standard chaplain equipment. So yeah, he's here essentially just to buff the Death Company. He'll be popping down when they pop down, and he will be there essentially to make sure they get their hits through, because they're not going to have much problem wounding things up, but it's the hits you lose a lot of them from, you'd be surprised. So it's nice to have that reroll.
Very, very nice there. So a couple things also on top of that. First off, we just take a look at two guys who are very, very good in combat. One of the things going to be a pain for me is they are characters, so you're going to be able to kind of keep them protected with plot armor, just keep some characters in between them and the target that's trying to shoot them. So I'm not going to be able to target them unless they're the closest, which probably won't happen until you charge, which with the Warlord trait and the relic that you have available on your Captain?
Yes,
Captain. I'm not going to be able to shoot him, so the thing we're seeing right off the bat here is he's going to charge in, tie up a unit, make sure that they can't shoot, and then this guy, as well as all of the Death Company, is going to be able to just charge in as well without having to worry about any shots coming their way. Eliminate that unit and then move on to the next one and still keep those characters alive because of the amount of bodies that are in between them and the targets. Very, very, very cool right there. All right, and I think you have another HQ in this detachment.
I have a few more HQ. This battalion, so yes, I have one more in this battalion. Yes.
Alrighty, let's take a look at that.
So here's everybody's favourite librarian. We have Mefist, the Lord of Death. So Mefist's stat profile, he has a movement of 7, which is obviously very unusual, but it's just because he's very, very angry. He has his weapon skill of 2+, his ballistic skill of 2+, strength 5 and toughness 5, which is unusual for a librarian. Wounds of 5, attacks of 4, leadership of 9, and a save of 2+.
Oh my.
Yeah, he is a beast. He is equipped with a standard plasma pistol there, so you got your 12-inch pistol, strength 7 minus 3, 1 damage, or you can overcharge it for the strength 8 and 2 damage, but on the one he dies. I won't be doing that.
Please do that.
I will be avoiding it. So he's also equipped with the Sanguine Sword. Now this is a melee weapon that gives him ×2 strength. So he's running around at strength 10 with no negatives to hit.
Ugh.
And it gives him AP -3 and D3 damage.
Gross. That's gross.
He is a monster. He has the Animation of No Fear, which I haven't mentioned yet, but any Space Marines player will be aware of that. Yeah, let's you reroll your morale tests, because I'm not sure why the characters have it, but they do. And he also has another role called the Lord of Death, which he essentially gives him a 5-up ignore wound roll. So he has a 5-up feeling of pain for those familiar with the older terms. And he has a psychic hood, so any psychic that he wants to deny the witch to, if they're within 12 inches of him, he gets +1 to his roll, which I'm sure is going to be very useful against the Necrons.
It won't be too helpful against the Necrons, because the only thing that I have that's even close to something similar to a psychic power is my Catan powers. You can't really shut them down with a psyker, but I can definitely see this coming in handy against other lists that are very psyker heavy, because now you don't have to exceed the roll of the person who's casting the spell. You just have to equal it, because that +1 will put you over. So definitely comes in handy right there.
And you will see with the psychic powers that I give him, he will be in people's faces hopefully quite early on. He has the power to manifest 2 psychic powers each turn and deny 2 psychic powers each turn. He does know, however, 3 psychic powers alongside Smite. Okay, so psychic powers we have for him. We have the standard Smite, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, and the Blood Angel specific powers. The first one being the primary one for me is called Quickening. Now this has a warp charge of 7. And what it allows, it is a self-buff power. It gives him +3 to his run and charge rolls, and +D3 attacks until the next psychic phase. In the beginning of his combat phase, he would roll that, and that's how many he'd get for that combat phase, up until the next psychic phase. So essentially, he'd be rocking 4 attacks +D3, which is going to be very nice if we can get them off. His second power, which I won't do them in order with the cards, because the third one is more of an optional power that I won't use, but the second one is called the Wings of Sanguinius. Now I'm sure if you've played a Blood Angels player, you'll be familiar with this as well. It is a warp charge value of 5, and it allows you to immediately move the Psyker 12 inches from his current position. So if you combine that with his movement of 7, you get if you get all the powers off, he will be moving 7. In Psychic Phase, he will move another 12. He will then charge his 2d6 +3 because of the quickening power. So he will be in the middle of everything, hopefully.
Which is quite good right there. So doing the math really quickly on that one, that means he can move 19 inches from his starting position at the beginning of the movement phase, which can put him very far up the board. And then on top of that, getting the +3 to a charge means that he can make a 12-inch charge on a roll of a 9. So that's actually really, really good. Actually, no, he can make it on a roll of an 8, because you don't need to roll the full 12, you just need to get within an inch. So that means he can make a 12-inch charge on a roll of 8. That's gross. That's super gross.
And like I mentioned previously, he will hopefully also have the +D3 attacks and strength 10 -3 D3 damage. And the Wings also has the optional effect, and the secondary effect, I can also reroll his charges. So if he gets all these powers off, it's very likely he will get to where he needs to be. The main problem being the Quickening, which is a warp charge of 7, which is quite high for psychic powers. The third power I've given him, there's usually options for this because of the main fact you can only cast 2, and you're going to want this guy in combat, so you do the quickening and you do the wings. The third one I've given him is a Shield of Sanguinius, which is a warp value 6. It has a range of 12 inches and it gives the unit it's cast on a 5+ invulnerable save. Now, for me, this has going to be... There are 3 possibilities that this could pop on if one of the first powers I cast fails. It's likely I'll just cast his third one, because without the combination of the other 2, it's going to be difficult to get him where I want to be. So if the first one fails, I'll probably fall back and cast the third one, which is the 5+ invuln. And the 3 options that I usually pass it on to is, if you saw my arm earlier, you saw a nice little flyer earlier, popping a 5+ ward save on that, invulnerable save even. Never a bad thing, it can always be nice. The Death Company is another option, 5+ save on them wouldn't go amiss. And the third one is actually himself, because he does not actually have an invulnerable save, which is surprising, but from further looking at other Space Marines armies, librarians generally don't have a ward save.
No.
It's very surprising. I found that very surprising. He does have his 5+ field on the pain to sort of substitute for it, but giving that ward save is never a bad thing either.
No.
So that's Mefist and the Lord of Death, and that is the 3rd HQ for the 1st Battalion.
Very, very nice right there. So, we've got another support unit that's going to be running around on the board, giving a unit a 5 invulnerable save, which can be a pain for me because that's going to shut down a lot of my Solar Fury Dynasty ability, which is going to try and get you to those 6+ saves if I get within the range of it. It's also going to be making it a bit of a pain because that also means my Destroyers are not going to be able to just completely annihilate your armor. You're going to have something that's going to keep them alive. And if you put it on the Death Company, it's going to be an even bigger pain for me to try and cut through them because now you've got something that's actually going to prevent the damage. So very, very cool right there. You can definitely see how this army is already starting to get a Alpha Strike plan going on, and it's very rare to see, but it's nice to see so far a Blood Angels army that is super melee heavy. It looks like the characters you're going with are kind of building a little bit of a Death Star, which is quite rare to see in a Space Marine army. Usually we like to see the entire army buff in kind of brick.
Yeah.
This one looks very assaulty and getting in your face, which is it's a nice change. So very, very cool right there. I think we have one more HQ in this detachment, or is that it?
That's all the HQ for the 1st Battalion, yeah.
Alright, so we're going to move on now to the troop choices.
Okay.
Moving on from your HQs, we've got some of the troop choices here, and we've got your Primaris. Now you do have a few of these in the army, so we're just going to cover them the one time, and then you can explain where they've been placed throughout your army. But we have Primaris. What do they do?
Okay, so these are going to be split into squads of 5. These are armed with your standard bolt rifles. So for those of you unfamiliar with the Primaris, obviously the new stuff for the 8th edition, I really like them myself. I'm a big fan of the Primaris. And this is what they call an Intercessor Squad, which is the basic Primaris. They're movement at 6, weapon skill, 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks each, 3 attacks for the sergeant, leadership of 7, 8 for the sergeant, and then 3+ save. What you're expecting the Space Marine essentially. The bolt rifles. Now, what these are is a range of 30, rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1, and 1 damage. Yep. There's in total in the army there are going to be 4 squads of these, all kitted out the same. So they will have 3 standard intercessors with bolt rifles. They will have a sergeant armed with a chainsword, which essentially gives them a +1 attack, and they will have what is called a auxiliary grenade launcher in each squad.
Oh.
So what that means is they're frag and crack grenades. Frag grenade being a range 6 grenade D6 strength 3 and no AP 1 damage, and their crack grenades being range 6 grenade 1 strength 6 -1 and D3 damage. The auxiliary grenade launcher boosts the range from the 6 inches for both of those to 30 inches.
Basically you're carrying around a mortar.
Yep, pretty much. Although unfortunately I do have to see people with this. It's a shame, but there we go. So, yep, they have the they shall know no fear as well. Again, with squads of 5, I don't really see that coming into play. With a leadership of 8, don't really think that's going to make an appearance. But these are my bread and butter of the army. They are essentially usually what I consider to be the tougher part of the army. The intercessors are going to be a blob that moves up the field. Making them a bit tougher, we'll see why I like to use them as the tough part of the army, with later on some of the buffing characters. But yeah, 4 squads of them to make up 3 squads of them in 1 battalion, and to make up the mandatory squads in there. And there is 1 squad in the 2nd battalion, accompanied by the 2nd troop choice, which is the Tactical Space Marines.
Alrighty. So just to kind of do a quick little overview on the Primaris themselves, they do have the extra wound and the extra attack, so it makes them a little bit better than your typical Tactical Marine, but it also gives them access to these weapons that have a much further range. giving you the rapid fire range of 15 inches is quite terrifying. It might not seem like much, but the extra 3 inches could be the difference of making a charge and failing a charge, so that's quite awesome as a whole. On top of that, with these squads of 5 and a leadership of 8, that means I need to go eliminate at least 3 of them before you can possibly fail a morale check. And because they have And They Shall Know No Fear, you can re-roll those failed morale checks. Now, because I do have my Catan shard, if he's within 12 inches of a unit, I only need to eliminate 2 of them. But still, that's not something I want to rely on for my Catan. It's mostly just get in your face and try and do some mortal wounds. That is the Catan's job. So if I'm relying very heavily on modifying your leadership, this is not the army to do it against. Otherwise, these guys are very, very resilient with the 2 wounds apiece. It's going to be a little bit trickier for me to cut through them because a lot of my weapons only really do 1 damage. So every time one goes through, it's only going to kill half of a Primaris. Whereas the things that can do quite a bit of damage are my destroyers, and they have other targets which we will see in a moment that are, well, better targets. So moving on from your Primaris, where do we want to talk to about next?
Let's go through the tactical space means let's get the troops out of the way.
Alrighty.
Okay then, so again, this is what you will see in any Space Marine now before 8th edition came out, the basic Space Marine. These are the movement 6, weapon skill of 3+, blitz skill of 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds of 1, 1 attack, leadership of 7, and a 3+ save. I'm sure if you've been to any sort of game, you will probably met a Space Marine. These ones are equipped with the standard bolt guns, which will be range 24, rapid fire 1, strength 4, and 1 damage. These guys have been kitted out with one of them having a rocket launcher, or missile launcher even in this case. What that will mean is he has the option of 2 missiles to fire at a range of 48, either the frag missile, which will be d6 shots, strength 4, damage 1, no AP, or the crack missile, which will be strength 8, -2, and d6 damage.
Oof.
It's a nice little heavy support choice there.
Fire those at my Ghost Darks.
Yeah, I'm not going to be trying that.
Oh.
I do not like quantum shielding, I'm just going to say that now. But these guys, ideally in the future when I have the models, I would like to place these with scouts or more Primaris, but for now they're going to be acting as my screen in this army. It's unfortunate they have to missile launcher because that's what I have at the moment, but these will be my screening units because they're the cheaper of the 2 and they do benefit for what I'm trying to do with the army. So these are going to be the guys I put forward in an attempt to stop Quirk's this little Alpha Strike with his Doomsday Arcs. Doomsday Arcs?
Ghost Arcs.
Ghost Arcs, sorry, my bad. And his Deceiver. So hopefully, good deployment is what I'm hoping for these, and they might make or break it for me. The basic Space Marine, surprised how useful they can be if deployed right.
Very, very true. And on top of that, one thing we do need to keep in mind is that your missile launcher, if you're using this as a screening unit, it's probably going to have to move around a little bit. Missile launcher is a heavy weapon, so if you move, you're not able to fire it, which is kind of a bummer. But, oh, sorry, at -1. I was thinking if you advance, you can't fire it. That's my bad. You're going to be firing at -1. I don't have anything that's going to modify your -1 to hit there, but still, you are firing basically one of your most strongest weapons at a -1 to hit, so you have a 50-50 chance of hitting as opposed to the 66% chance. And everybody knows it's like a 3+ is better than a 4+. That's just math, but it is a little bit of a pain right there. It really feels bad when you do move him and then roll that 3. So
yeah, absolutely. Like I say, in future I really hope to replace these with scouts. Just get my hands on some at this point. But yeah, for now this is what I've got, and I just had some extra points. So missile launcher, throwing a heavy weapon on there didn't seem too bad an option, considering what else I had.
Alright, and we have 2 units of these?
2 units of 5 to fill out the other 2 mandatory troop choices in the 2nd Battalion.
Very, very cool. Alright, so that's going to conclude all the troop choices, and now we're going to move on to your elites.
Well, if we do the HQ of the 2nd Battalion.
Oh, fair enough. I forgot you have more.
No, yeah. Okay, so we have a 4th HQ, which is going to be the first out of the 2nd Battalion. This is a Primaris Lieutenant. Now, for those of you who have seen the Blood Angel specific Lieutenant, this is the model for Lieutenant Talaran, I think his name was. And we'll go through his stat line here. He's not actually a special character, they just released the model and gave him a name. Not sure the reason behind that for Games Workshop, but there we go. So he has a movement of 6, a weapon skill of 2+, a blitz skill of 3+, a strength 4, toughness 4, 5 wounds, attacks of 4, leadership of 8, and a 3+ armor save. He is armed with a mastercrafted bolt pistol. Wait, no, sorry, just a normal bolt pistol. Range of 12, pistol 1, and strength 4, damage of 1, your standard one there. And he also has a power sword, which is the strength of the user, -3 and 1 damage. He has the standard On They Shall Know No Fear, which I wouldn't expect much to from a single character. And the reason you bring him is for the tactical precision rule. Now what this allows you to do is units of Blood Angels within 6 inches of the lieutenant can reroll wound rolls of a 1. Now with most of the stuff with Blood Angels, you're going to be winning on 2+s because of their special rules. So rerolling those ones just kind of guarantees you those wound rolls.
Very, very nice right there. So it basically means that you have a 1 in, what, 36 chance? 32 chance?
Yes, it's around that area, yeah.
So, alright. Not really much to go off of on this guy. His main goal is just kind of give everybody that bubble of rerolling the ones to wound, which is quite nice right there. I'm assuming you're going to try and avoid putting this guy in combat just because he's not as good in combat as a lot of the other things that you have right there. It's better to keep him back to give those buffs out, correct?
That's why he's there, yeah. He's there for his technical precision, which is his reroll ones. That's what he's around for.
Fair enough. Alright, very cool model. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other HQ.
So what we have here is a Sanguinary Priest. Now, he is another unit that was generally put into the army because he fills a slot and is cheap points, but on further investigation, he does actually have a nice purpose. So I'll go through his rules here. He is movement of 6, weapon skill of 2+, split skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds of 4, attacks of 3, leadership of 9, and a 3+ save. He's equipped with your bog standard weapons of a bolt pistol and chainsword, just making him have bonus attacks up to 4. He has what is called, he has the Alni Shall Know No Fear rule, which is, again, standard for Space Marines, and he has a Blood Chalice. Now this is the unique part that makes a difference between a Sanguinary Priest and an Apothecary. The Blood Chalice allows bikers and infantry within 6 inches of him to have +1 strength. Now, when you think about it as itself, its +1 strength might not make a whole lot of difference. If you consider that Space Marines have a strength of 4, it means against toughness 4 units, they can win on 4s. With the Blood Angel special rule, they'll win on 3s. Now if you give them a strength of 5, that now lets them actually win on 2s when they charge or get charged. So it does actually have its benefits to the army, but he is also just a cheap HQ choice that you can slot in. He also has an Arthesian, which allows you to bring dead models back on a 4+, allows you to bring back a single model, or you can heal D3 wounds on a model. So he will be bumping around the Primaris, keeping them just a little bit topped up or bringing back a couple of dead guys. But he's mainly there for the +1 strength, so that if I do get in combat, it starts just letting those dice rolls get through nicely.
Very, very nice right there. So he is going to pair very well with the Lieutenant, and the idea that the Lieutenant is going to give those rerolling ones to wound, and with the strength buff that you're going to get from the Priest?
Yep.
Sanguinary Priest, thank you. It's going to be giving you the ability to reroll 1s when you're hitting on 2s, whereas normally you'd be hitting on...
It'd be 3s you usually expect.
Yeah, and if you're just dealing with regular Space Marines, you'd be basically wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. So this changes your 50-50 chance with the extra 16% chance of a reroll to a 86% or 82%, 84%, 80-something% chance with the reroll to give you like a 90-some-odd% chance of actually getting those wounds through, which is ridiculous. So that's very, very cool right there, especially when you're dealing with an army that has no modifiers to wound. So that's going to play in very, very nicely against my guys, especially since I have no modifiers to wound. You're going to be guaranteeing that I have to roll those saves. I'm probably going to lose some units here.
I'm really hoping so. And then now the 5th out of 6 HQ, so we'll go on to the final one now. So we have my last HQ of the 2nd Battalion. This is the Sanguinor. He has the movement of 12, weapon skill of 2+, a ballistic skill or 2+, a strength of 4, a toughness of 4, wounds of 5, attacks of 5, leadership of 9, and a 2+ save.
Yeah.
He is armed with frag and crack grenades and the Encarmine Broadsword, which is his melee weapon, against him +2 strength, -4 AP, and D3 damage. So he's rocking a strength of 6. Again, with the Blood Angel's rule, if he charges something, it's very likely he's going to be wounding on 2s. So again, he has the Agnes Shall Know No Fear, but his main rule, which people generally bring him for, is what is called the Aura of Fervor. I believe it's Fervor, that's how you pronounce it. That one?
Fervor, sure, why not?
It must be, yeah.
I can't read.
So this gives +1 attacks to friendly Blood Angels infantry within 6 inches of him. So the idea is that he's going to be buffing the Primaris even more. So they'll be running around each of the 5-man squads with a base attacks of 2, giving them 10 attacks. The Sergeant has an additional 2 to get 12, and because of Sanguinor, that'll boost up to 17 attacks for each 5-man Primaris squad in combat. And then you consider the other buffs where if they be hitting on 3s, be wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. There'll be a lot of stuff getting through, I'm hoping. And obviously he's pretty much a beat stick himself with 6 attacks because the buff affects him. At strength 6, -4 and D3 damage apiece, he's not exactly to be laughed at either. He also has the Avenging Angel rule, which means he can actually fall back and charge in the same phase.
Oh my.
And he has the box standard Iron Halo for a 4+ invuln save. Use something that I usually do. Usually this guy is his Death Mask, but with the big units of warriors, it might be worthwhile. We're giving them a -1 modifier to their leadership while they're in 3 inches of him. So that might actually come into effect in this game, which I don't usually see.
Yeah.
And then he also has the jump back assault rule, so he can also deploy outside of 9 inches if he wishes outside the first turn. So as you see, the army's sort of leaning towards the Primaris being quite a big bubble, but surprisingly they can actually pump out a lot of damage as well.
So with all the buffs and everything you're getting, it's starting to turn these Primaris into what they usually are used for, which is their rapid fire bolt carbines? I think that's what they're called.
Rifles.
Bolt rifles, thank you. With the 15-inch range rapid fire, a lot of people like to keep those at a distance, getting all the rerolls, which is what you typically see in a Ultramarine list with Guilliman, getting the rerolling the 3s to hit and rerolling the more than likely 4s to wound. Now you've got a Blood Angels list, which turns every Primaris into a melee, just scary model as a whole, where you're getting the extra attacks, the extra strength, the rerolls all over the place. So suddenly, Primaris are ridiculously good in close combat, especially if they get the charge off. Now, when you also include the Sanguinor in there as well, being able to fall back and charge as many times as he wants to. If you're already engaging a unit, he can fall back, charge back in, get the buffs from the Red Thirst, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the one.
So getting the buffs from that as well, making him absolutely scary, and getting all the extra attacks and everything in there as well. So this list is very, very good by the looks of it, of getting across the board and just buffing Primaris to the point in which they are scarier than pretty much any normal Space Marine unit in close combat. So
That's the hope, yeah. The only thing they're missing is the transport, but I've hopefully got something that can add to that with my first of my elite choices that will help them get to where they need to be, which I'll show you now. So this is the Primaris Ancient model. What he has is a standard Primaris stat line, but with a few extra wounds. So what we're looking at here, just trying to get here, so we have the, Primaris Ancient, movement of 6, weapon skill 3+, split skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds of 5, attacks of 4, leadership of 8 and a 3+ save. He is armed with the bolt rifle and frag and crack grenades. We've already covered those previously as a standard intercessor unit, so it's your range there, it's the strength 4, -1 and 1 damage rifle. He also has the Shoulder of Fear, and he has the Astartes banner for the Blood Angels. So the Blood Angels are in 6 inches of him, add 1 to their leadership, and in addition, whenever an infantry within 6 inches of him dies, on a 4+, they must have the strength for 1 last attack, either with a shooting weapon or one of their melee weapons. Now that's all well and good, that's very nice, but it's not the reason you bring him for the Blood Angels army in my case. So what we'll be doing is I will be spending a few command points before the game starts to give him an additional relic. The relic being called, if I get this right, I believe it's the Standard of Sacrifice, but I will just make sure I'm correct on that. Yes, the Standard of Sacrifice. So what this allows is each time a Blood Angels infantry unit within 6 inches of him loses a wound on a 5+, it is ignored. So it gives them all 5+ feel no pain. So all of a sudden these 2 wound Primaris have a 3+ save and a 5+ feel no pain. And alongside that, if Mephiston's around, they may also have a 5+ invuln save. So all of a sudden, I haven't got transports for these because I'm not a fan of the repulsor, and they really need to make up some treat transports for the Primaris. But until then, I've got this nice guy to make them a little bit tougher to kill.
very, very nice right there. So basically he's going to be turning these Primaris Marines from a 3-up save, and that's it, to a 3-up save, 5-up invuln, and 5-up ignoring wounds. And if you've known me to play any type of games, it's essentially making them demons with Disgusting Resilient, and I hate demons with Disgusting Resilient. Now we've got that on models with 2 wounds apiece. This is going to be annoying, so I might be cursing out your army in a minute.
Well, that's my only hope against some of these solar flare units. I've got to hope for this feeling the pain and the multiple wounds being pumped out by Tan. This might also help against. That's the plan.
Alright.
So we have 2 more units in here. We'll go to the second elite choice now, which is the Death Company. Okay then, so these are the Death Company. Like I say, these are usually the unique unit you see buzzing around in Blood Angels armies. So the stat line we have is a movement of 6 inches, a weapon skill of 3+, a blitz skill of 3+, a strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, and a leadership of 7 and a 3+ save. The only difference between that and a standard tactical marine is the 2 attacks and the range of options they have for weapons. So in this case, what we have here is the jump packs equipped to all of them, which can boost their movement to double what it used to be, so now to 12. They are, there is, I'm going to get this right, 3 of them equipped with bolt pistols and chainsaws, which essentially gives them an extra attack and bolt pistols. There are 3 of them equipped with bolt pistols and power swords, which again is 1 less attack, but gives them a -3 AP. And then the heavy hitters of the squad are the 3 equipped with thunder hammers. Now this allows them to have the time 2 strength and the -1 to hit and 3 damage. Those are the usual ones that will do the damage. As special rules go, they have the actual Note of Fear, which is the reroll, which could actually come into play for these because they don't have sergeants. So their base leadership is only 7, so unless the Martyrs is buzzing around, they may well suffer from morale. And they also have the Black Rage, which I mentioned earlier, which means that on the charge they get a bonus attack, as well as having a 6+ ignore wound roll. It is worth pointing out at this point that they cannot benefit from the banner I mentioned earlier. They can only have the 6 up feel no pain without their own built-in rule. Anything with the Black Rage is unaffected by the banner.
Alrighty. So these guys are going to get the benefits then from a lot of your characters, which is going to give them the +1 to the wound, which is the Black Rage, and on top of that you're going to get the rerolls from everybody because they do have the keywords in there. Another thing that's quite nice about them is with the jump packs they get the keyword fly, so they're able to actually fall back from combat and still fire their pistols, which I guess they could fire in close combat if they needed to anyway, but it does give you that chance to kind of break away from something that might be good in close combat. Won't come into play against my army because none of my stuff aside from the Deceiver is quite good in close combat. But it's still nice to have that option available if you start fighting things that do want to do that, essentially. It also means that if you fall back and you get charged, that means you're also able to trigger your Black Rage again because it does key in if you charge, are charged, or perform a heroic intervention. Clearly these guys aren't characters and can't do the heroic intervention, but falling back and goading your opponent into charging you does give you those nice little buffs right there. So
yeah, just correct that is the Red Thirst with the +1 to it. It's a Black Rage, it gives them +1 attack on the charge.
That's what it is. I'm sorry, I had those backwards.
Yeah.
So again, not familiar with Blood Angels, but starting to learn a little bit, and I'm getting more and more terrified about them. So
yeah, these guys generally will be accompanied by the Martyrs because these buffs only affect Death Company. And so hopefully, if all goes to plan, they will be getting the reroll charges and the reroll hits from the Martyrs. So obviously the Thunderhounds give them -1 to hit, which is a standard. So if the Martyrs are around, they will still be hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s and 2s, and on the charge having 3 attacks each.
Nice.
And if the strength of 8 usually means you're on 2+, for you against the strength 5, toughness 5 models with a Red Thirst, it'll still be 2+. How many wounds does the Destroyer have?
3.
So 3 damage from the hammers.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a nice little target for them running out there.
I also don't get a save against them. Oh wait, yes I do. I have a 6-up save. I'm probably not going to make my saves against them.
They have been marked for death already.
Alright. So that's pretty much it. We have one more unit to show off.
Yep.
And this is the one that I'm super excited to see and terrified to play against.
So the pièce de resistance of the army is the Fire Raptor Assault Gunship. Now this is essentially my heavy hitter. It's going to be flying around and it's my range support. I say range, it's probably quite close to its movement. So what it does with its movement is it degrades, starting at 20 to 45, moving down to 20 to 30, and then playing all 20. It has to move, it can't stop. It has a weapon skill of 6+. I guess you've got a few flies, so they could get in combat. It has a ballistic skill of 3+, that degrades to 4+, and then 5+. A strength of 8, a toughness of 7, 16 wounds, attacks of 3, which degrade down to D3 and 1, a leash for 9, and a 3+ armor save. So that's its profile. Doesn't sound fancy at the moment, but it's when you start getting to its weapons. So it has 3 sets of weapons. The first one being the big cannons at the front, which are called Twin Avenger Bolt Cannons. These have a range of 36 and a heavy 10, strength 6, -2 and 2 damage. Alongside those, it has the Twin Hellstrike Launchers, which are the missiles under the wing. It has 2 sets of these. Each are heavy 2, strength 8, -3 and 3 damage straight. So that's 4 shots in total. Hopefully they'll have some nice targets. And then its last weapon is the Quad Heavy Bolter. It has 2 of these. Each of these are heavy 12, strength 5, -1 and 1 damage. So in total that's going to be 24 of these shots that are running out. So it has the special rules airborne, so it has the fly rule and it can only attack or be attacked in the fight phase by anything that can fly. It has the hard to hit rule, which is your standard one for flies, giving it a -1 to hit rolls in the shooting phase. It has supersonic, which means that it must pivot pivot up to 90 degrees and then move. It has a minimum move distance that it has to achieve. Otherwise, if it ends up flying off the board, it is in fact gone, which I'll be doing my best to avoid. It can crash and burn, so once it is reduced to 0 wounds, roll a d6, and on a 6, anything within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. It can actually go into hover mode. I did not know this. Go into hover jet mode, which means that before model moves the movement phase, I can declare it's going to hover, and then its movement becomes 20, but it loses the airborne, hard to hit, and supersonic rules, which in essence means that it can be charged and attacked, as standard, and it no longer suffers the -1 to hit. Alongside that, it has the power of the Machine Spirit, which means that it can move and fire its heavy weapons without penalties. This thing just pumps out firepower like galore. It is my ranged firepower weapon. The rest of the army is going to be moving up a little bit of firepower, but aiming to get in close combat. This thing is going to be providing the support, hopefully.
Very, very nice. So, a couple things to keep in mind with this. It is a flyer, and it does have the flyer icon, which means I have to basically do one of two things. Get rid of it, which is probably what I'm going to try and do, because it's scary, and it's going to be essentially deleting a unit every turn. Or I could ignore it and go for the tabling. Now we're playing for points here, so a tabling means that I'd have to kill all the models except for that, and because it has the fly keyword, it's not treated as being on the board, so you would be technically tabled. In a tournament scene, which is how we're going to be playing this, I would not be going for that because I'm going to lose out on a ton of points. That's what flyers essentially do in tournament lists, is they will, in a tournament such as this, they're designed to eliminate players from getting points because, well, you really don't want to have to spend a lot of time shooting at things that are minus to hit, especially when I have Tesla. So you're going to be canceling out my Tesla, which is super annoying. But I know a few things that can fly that I can try and get in combat with it. Ideally, I'd like to get the Catan up in combat with you. The problem is that the Catan's going to have to deal with a ton of firepower before it's able to do that. And any unit that I try and throw in beforehand, tie up the model so I don't have to worry about it, will probably die. I'm thinking the Tomb Blade's getting in there first, but, you know, they would probably die to Overwatch on that one.
Yeah, even at Overwatch, you're going out 24 bowler shots, 12 mega bowler shots, and 4 missile shots. So what's that? That's 36, 40 shots going through.
Yep, just the bolters alone, you'd get 4 hits. So that's just craziness on its own. Anyway, now that we've seen all the lists in their entirety, we are going to go ahead and jump into the vault to actually go ahead and play this game, put our theories to the test, and see what actually happens. We're going to get the chance to see and talk about the secondaries that we're picking, why we're picking them, which primary version we're going to be taking with the Nova Open 2017 package, and as well you're going to be able to see the board. We are going to be playing the board that is recommended with the packet, so there is a layout that's designed with that. So Vault members, you can go ahead and click the link below to see that video. If you're not already a Vault member, I do recommend clicking on the link anyway, just to go ahead and check it out. We do offer a 7-day free trial where you can see this video and everything else that we offer in the Vault. We have quite a few things like paint tutorials, behind the scenes, open vaults, extra battle reports, more discussions, unboxings. It just kind of keeps going on and on and on, narratives, all the fun stuff right there. So I would recommend it. Again, guys, if you're not interested and you don't like it, we do have a 7-day return policy, so you can cancel it. Or sorry, 7-day free trial and a 30-day return policy, so you're more than welcome to try it out, see if you like it. I'm almost positive you will. So, anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Place your bets. Let us know in the comments section below who you think is going to win, and then go ahead and check out that Vault video to see if you are right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy wargaming.